Now that our final cure is here, it's a good time to look back at Hirogaru's Sky Precure. After losing some steam in the middle, the show's pace seems to be picking up with new friends and foes alike. So let's talk about While the show began with some excellent character work and resonant themes, in recent times we've been exploring the mundane day-to-day life of our four girls. Without a concrete goal beyond protecting Elle, the world feels static. Prior to this we had the Shalala arc, and before that we had the Skyland arc, each of which gave us a new goal and changed the stakes. But now the world feels empty. Nothing reflects this more than the fact that none of our characters seem to have secret identities. While it's still a factor, there's never been a season where the girls' identities matter so little. This reflects a greater problem with Hirogaru Sky's world building. Sorashido does feature people, but none of them are that close to our main characters. Before Ageha's family, there were barely any people the characters were close to. Sometimes it feels like the entire story is running out of Mashiro's household. All relevant characters and plots seem to emanate from this one place. Mashiro's grandmother is connected to Skyland, and every single Precure is somewhat connected to that household. In many ways, it functions like a hangout spot in the same way that Nat's house and the Kira Kira patisserie. The use of Mashiro's house as the central location has made the world feel rather small. But that feels unfair. After all, while the Earth is a bit small and empty, Skyland is a much more developed location with multiple recurring characters, a culture of its own, and unique locations. I really appreciate the effort put into building it as Sora's home, and it gives me hope that someday the people of Earth will be just as realized. The same can't be said for the villains. The Undergu Empire is one of the most underdeveloped villain groups, carrying the Bundoru legacy. It's a really worrying trend that's only eased by the rare success we see, such as Batamonda. As far as the villains go, he's one of the best. He came in after Kabaton and had a much more cunning strategy, giving us some of the best conflicts in the whole series. His strategies in Skyland and with Shalala both feature great setup, and the latter brings in some great personal stakes. This shakes up the usual plot, but sadly, he does not last. Following Batamonda, we get Minotaur, a warrior type that we've seen before who really adds nothing to the show. It makes sense that he's quickly replaced by Spearhead, a much more compelling character. With a thirst for knowledge, Spearhead seems ruthless and far stronger than everyone before him. With the introduction of the final villain, now is the time for the writers to get the villains right. They feel like part of a different story with how little they show up. Despite occasional glimmers of hope, it feels like in the end, these villains won't be that memorable. Speaking of hope, Ellie recently awakened and became Cure Majesty. This is one of the later debuts, and I just love her design. I got some flack for this, but she definitely broke a worrying design trend that started all the way back in Star Twee, and that is the ugly mid-season cure. Now don't get me wrong, I love mid-season cures, but after the Hugto girls, there was a clear change in their design approaches. Mid-seasons are always designed to look special, but somewhat cohesive with their team. After Happiness Charge, the designs in general got a lot more diverse, allowing for pretty grand outfits. This made the mid-seasons rather busy, but I don't think it was a problem until Cosmo. Her rainbow skirt throws everything off and doesn't really match anything else. There's other problems with her design, but I'll get into that when we cover Star Twee. With Earth, I don't actually mind the design, but I think it's rather basic. It's just so plain and generic with nothing new to add. After that, we got Cure Lemaire, who was a really ambitious attempt to use two main colors instead of one. I think that Cure Finale has it worse though, with multiple colors and really bad visual hierarchy. Everything is big enough that it draws your eye in, so there's nowhere to rest. It's also gigantic and colorful. My eyes are drawn to the big bright skirt that isn't balanced by anything, and it's a design that just features really bad structure and color, which leaves her looking like a mess. This is especially bad considering the other designs this season balance complexity and color in much better ways. Once again, Cure Earth is probably the least egregious in the past few seasons, but the design philosophy of that show is something I've covered before, and I just think it's pretty boring to look at. Anyway, after a series of really poor entries, I feel that Majesty finally broke the curse and gave us a really good design. She's primarily purple, which really helps to keep her cohesive. I really like her silhouette and how her hair is just an exaggeration of Ellie's toddler hair. The colors are at their best here with various shades of purple on the dress, but white gloves and stockings to keep her limbs visible. The only part I hate is the hearts, which appear on her torso and head. The torso feels rather unfinished, with a heart just filling up space. The same can be said for the headpiece, which is pretty awkward and matches with nothing else. It introduces blue, and I guess the white was meant to balance the rest of the white everywhere, but I think it failed. I don't know what the approach was, but whatever they thought it was doing, it did not do any of that. I think she would have been fine with just a few star accessories on her head. Beyond her amazing design, Cure Majesty also brought us some much needed progression in the story. This has been the slowest part of the season, and the Minaton saga will likely age poorly due to lacking the stakes and intrigue of previous episodes. A lot of Precure fans might blame this on the Precure cycle, which is this thing where the fans get really excited when a new season starts, get bored in the middle, and then start demanding to hear news of the next one. However, this is actually a symptom of a much larger problem. Due to either the writing or the higher-ups, the past few seasons have always had a really boring middle section. Once all the interesting new stuff is over, we're just stuck waiting for the final encounter. Without a solid arc structure, modern Precure seasons can feel like they're spinning their wheels until we get to the finale. Gone are the days of rotating villains and spectacular saga finales. I fear this is what might happen next. We already got a taste before Cure Majesty appeared, but once they get the new attack, I doubt we'll have much to cover before just wrapping up this season. I really long for the days of Doki Doki to Princess, where there was a lot more story progression each arc, particularly Gopri. Every core or so we got to face a big villain, and we spent time in between building our cures up. They collected dress-up keys which gave us a constant sense of progression and a clear indicator of progress. Hugto tried something similar, but with all the characters, they got a little lost in the mess. I think that's what's missing from Hito Sky. A living world that responds to change. Show us progress. Show us new characters. The world feels very small, and I can't imagine that this season will age incredibly. Now that I've complained a bit, I do want to acknowledge that Hirogaru Sky has some pretty good music, and the animation is really nice. Maybe it's just this arc that wore me out, but I do think that if we look at everything that's happened so far, I would say it's been alright. The biggest issues have already been stated, so I feel like if they can just give us 2 more good arcs, I would say it's a good season. I would say that. This is a pretty casual video that I just wanted to pop out to talk about Cure Majesty. It's a lot more casual and less scripted than I usually am, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of this season so far, and if you plan to keep watching. I've noticed a few of you haven't really kept up, and I can't blame you, but I do think it could still be a really good season. It all depends on what they do from now. With that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.